After staying late yet again, I overheard my manager whispering, "She's like a golden retriever. Always happy to work late, never smart enough to realize she's being used." I smiled to myself in the dark office. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in a new corner office, and his pink slip was waiting in his inbox, signed by the new director I helped recruit. I used to think hard work spoke for itself. That if you kept your head down, did what needed to be done, people would notice. Maybe not right away, but eventually. I thought being the first one in and the last one out meant something. I was wrong. I work at a mid-sized marketing firm based in St. Louis. We handle digital campaigns, brand work, and client strategy. I've been there 4 years now. Started as a project assistant, worked my way up to coordinator. Never made waves. Just stayed late, said yes to everything, and did more than I was asked to. My manager, Phil, liked me, or so I thought. He always gave me extra responsibility, said I was dependable, the glue holding things together. That kind of talk. It felt good at first, like I was being trusted. But after a while, I started to realize what was really going on. Phil didn't do his job. Not really. He came in late, left early, and dumped every fire on my desk. When something went wrong, I fixed it. When a client was upset, I smoothed it over. When a project was late, I stayed up making sure it got done. And he always took the credit. Still, I didn't complain. I kept telling myself it would pay off. Then one night, everything changed. It was around 8 p.m. Office, mostly empty. I was putting final touches on a presentation Phil needed for a client pitch the next day. He had promised he'd help, but of course he left hours ago. I went to refill my coffee. On my way back, I heard voices in the conference room. The lights were off in most of the hallway, so they didn't know I was there. Phil was talking to Brian from sales. I stopped when I heard my name. Phil laughed and said, "She's like a golden retriever. Always wagging her tail, staying late, never asking why. Not smart enough to realize she's just cleaning up everyone else's crap." Brian laughed too. "Well, keep her happy. Saves you from doing any real work." They kept laughing. I just stood there. I didn't say anything. I didn't walk in. I just listened. Then I walked back to my desk, finished that damn presentation, and sent it to Phil with a smiley face in the email. But inside, something flipped. I wasn't angry yet. Not really. Just wide awake. I saw it clearly for the first time. They didn't respect me. They used me. And they thought I was too dumb to notice. That was their first mistake. I spent the next few days doing my job like normal. Smiling. Showing up early. Sending Phil reminders. Doing what I always did. But behind the scenes, I started preparing. Step 1. I documented everything. Every email where Phil delegated something that should have been his. Every time he left early. Every time he asked me to cover a meeting and then didn't respond when something went wrong. I didn't delete or forward anything. I just saved it all in a folder. Timestamps, client notes, Slack messages, everything. Step 2. I talked to other people in the office. Nothing direct. Just little conversations. With Rachel, the designer. "Hey, did Phil ever get back to you on that campaign direction?" "No, he told me to ask you." Again. With Monica in HR. "Still waiting on Phil to approve last month's hours?" She sighed. "Don't remind me. Third time I've asked." With Jamar from accounts. "Did Phil give you the info for that client call?" "Nope." He bailed. Said you'd know what to say. Pattern after pattern. Phil wasn't managing. He was hiding. Step 3. I used my connections. A few years back, I took a class in organizational leadership at WashU. My professor, Dana Levitt, had stayed in touch. She was smart, tough, and had real experience running teams. I saw on LinkedIn that she'd just left a VP role at a major firm. Around that time, our company's executive director had left. They were quietly looking for a replacement, but it wasn't public yet. The CFO, Tom, was handling it for now. I reached out to Dana. Told her I thought she'd be perfect for the role. Told her about the firm, about the culture, and about the opportunities. I didn't trash anyone. I didn't need to. The company needed a strong leader, and she was one. I introduced Dana to Tom. They met for lunch. Then a follow-up. Then an interview. I kept my mouth shut and my head down. 2 weeks later, Dana was announced as our new executive director. The first Monday she started, she sent out an open-door policy email. I scheduled a meeting. When I walked into her office, she smiled and said, "Tell me what's really going on here." So I did. I showed her the documentation. I walked her through the projects. I explained how Phil operated. I made it clear I wasn't there to throw a tantrum. I just wanted the truth seen. She asked questions, took notes, didn't say much. Then at the end she said, "You're not the only one who's talked to me about him." I was surprised, but not shocked. She said, "I'll handle it." I nodded. Got up to leave. Before I walked out, she said, "You've been running this place from the shadows. Let's bring you into the light." I didn't know exactly what she meant yet, but I had a feeling things were about to change. Phil didn't see it coming. For the next few days, he acted like the king of the office. Walked around with his mug, gave lazy feedback, told me to send out meeting notes for calls he didn't attend. Then Thursday hit. He got called into Dana's office around 11:30 a.m. About 20 minutes later, he walked out, red-faced, silent, straight to his desk. Packed his stuff in a cardboard box. No speech. No jokes. No excuses. He didn't even look at me. He just left. Phil was gone. Just like that. HR said it was a mutual separation. But we all knew what it meant. You don't pack up your stuff in a box and storm out over lunch if things are mutual. People were quiet that day. Not sad, just unsure. A few folks whispered. Some looked relieved. Brian from sales didn't say much. He used to laugh loud across the floor. That Thursday, not a sound from his cubicle. The next morning, Dana called a team meeting. She was direct. "I've made some changes. And more coming. I'm not interested in covering for people who don't carry their weight. If you've been doing the work, I see you. If you've been hiding behind others, you're on notice." Then she looked right at me. "Starting Monday, our new project director will be handling the larger accounts. If you have questions, ask her." People clapped. A few surprised faces. Some looked happy. Others looked nervous. I didn't smile. I just nodded. But inside, my chest was pounding. I finally had a title, an office, a voice. But then the twist came. About a week after Phil was fired, I started noticing strange things. Old projects with missing files. Clients saying they never got final drafts. Deadlines that I knew we hit were suddenly flagged as late. At first, I thought it was just cleanup from Phil's mess. But then I found out someone had logged into our project software using my old credentials, ones I had stopped using when I was promoted. Only 3 people knew that password. Phil was one of them. Then I got a call from a client I'd never worked with before. They were upset, said I'd sent them a proposal with the wrong pricing. But the email they forwarded wasn't from me. It was my name, but not my writing. The tone was off, and the file had an outdated logo we hadn't used in over a year. Whoever sent it wanted to make me look sloppy. I went straight to IT, told them everything.
Dana beked me.
We pulled the logs. Sure enough, someone had accessed our system using a VPN and tried to send emails from a spoofed address. I knew who it was, but we couldn't prove it, not fully. The IP was masked. No fingerprints left behind. Still, Dana made a call. She hired a third-party security firm to audit everything. Quietly, in the background. While that was happening, I had to keep working like nothing was wrong. Smile at meetings. Build client trust.
Clean up sabotage.
And all the while, I kept wondering, how far would Phil go? Then came the message. One night, I stayed late again, this time in my new office, lights on, door shut. I was going through files when a notification popped up. Anonymous email.
Subject:
Hope the corner office was worth it. Inside was a single line. Let's see how long you keep it when the board sees what you've done. No name. No details. Just that threat. My hands shook. I closed the laptop, stood up, and locked the door. He was still out there, still watching, and apparently still angry. I didn't know what he meant about the board, but I had a bad feeling. A deep, gut-level one. Phil wasn't finished. And if I didn't get ahead of it, he'd take more than just my peace of mind. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the email in my head. Let's see how long you keep it when the board sees what you've done. I hadn't done anything wrong, at least nothing illegal. But that line stuck with me. It wasn't just a threat. It was a warning. The next morning I met with Dana, behind closed doors. I showed her the email. She didn't flinch. "We'll find out who's behind it," she said. "But I need you to be honest. Is there anything you've done he could spin? Even a half-truth?" I shook my head. "I've been careful. But he might have access to old stuff.
Drafts. Notes.
Out-of-context messages." She nodded. "We'll stay ahead of it." The security firm she brought in had already found signs of deeper tampering, files moved in the background, slight edits to timestamps, calendar events deleted. They suspected it was an inside job. Not Phil directly. Someone still in the company. That narrowed things down fast. And one name came up, Brian. Brian from sales. Phil's old buddy. The same guy who laughed during that golden retriever comment. I hadn't paid him much attention since the fallout, but now that I thought about it, he'd been acting strange. Quiet. Too quiet. And he still had access to several shared systems Phil once controlled. Dana and the IT team ran a quiet audit on his credentials. Bingo. Brian had been logging into shared drives at odd hours, moving files, downloading entire project folders he wasn't assigned to, including a few labeled confidential, files meant for Dana and legal only. They called him in. Didn't fire him. Not yet. He denied everything. Said it was probably a mistake. Claimed he thought he was backing things up. But his panic said otherwise. Later that day, I got another email. This one wasn't anonymous. It was from Brian. It said, "You think you're better than everyone just because you got lucky. But some of us don't forget how you got here. You played dirty. Now it's coming back around." I didn't reply. Instead, I sent it straight to Dana. That was the final straw. Brian was suspended pending a full investigation. His badge deactivated. His access revoked. And guess what? A week later, the security team confirmed that his laptop had been used to send the anonymous emails, including the one with my name on a fake proposal. They found multiple communications between Brian and Phil. Texts, emails, even a shared cloud folder where they were building a case against me. Their goal was to make it look like I had manipulated my way into Phil's job by fabricating complaints, covering up my own mistakes, and framing him for neglect. All fake. All lies. But they didn't count on me having proof. Remember all that documentation I started months ago? I still had it. Every message. Every forwarded task. Every late-night fix. And now Dana had her own records too. A clean audit trail. A timeline of what really happened. But then another twist hit. Phil wasn't working alone. And Brian wasn't the only leak. An anonymous tip came in through the ethics hotline. Someone from inside the company said they saw Phil in the building last weekend. But he'd been fired weeks ago.
No quecar.
No code. Security checked the footage. It was grainy, but clear enough. Phil had used someone else's badge. And guess whose? Marla. From HR. The same woman who used to approve Phil's PTO without question. The same one who dragged her feet every time I asked for policy updates after Dana took over. They pulled her logs and found that she had been editing internal complaints, removing some, altering others. One of them? A harassment report from a junior employee who had come to me 6 months ago, afraid to go directly to Phil. Marla had buried it. She was called in. Said she was just following directions. She looked scared. Like she knew it was over. Dana didn't say much, but I could feel it building. This wasn't about one man anymore. It was about a network, a quiet, twisted group that had been protecting each other for years, helping each other rise, covering each other's failures, laughing about people like me behind closed doors. Now they were exposed. And Dana? She wasn't done. It all came crashing down within a week. After the truth about Brian came out, Dana gave the board a full report.
She didn't hold back.
Every name involved, every cover-up, every email and access log, it was all laid out.
Clean. Cold.
Impossible to deny. And then came the last blow. Security found hidden files on Marla's work computer, emails she deleted and screenshots she wasn't supposed to have. She'd been funneling internal complaints to Phil even after he was gone, trying to build a case that I had manipulated my way into power. But more than that, she was leaking personal information about employees, salaries, disciplinary notes, medical leave history. She was escorted out by security the same afternoon. No notice. No goodbye.
Just gone.
Brian was fired the next day. Dana didn't even let him back in the building to collect his things. IT boxed up what was left, dumped it in the mailroom, and told him to send someone else to pick it up. The box sat there for 3 days. No one came. But the part that felt like real justice came when Dana told me what happened with Phil. He wasn't just unemployed. Turns out, he had been lying on job applications, claiming he resigned for personal growth reasons. But Dana made a call, a very quiet one, to a recruiter in the same industry circle. Someone she trusted. That recruiter ran his name through the network. Turns out, Phil had applied to 6 companies in the past month. 5 pulled his application the moment they heard about the internal sabotage and email tampering. 1 company had already hired him for a contract role. They fired him after 2 days. He didn't even get a final paycheck. They held it due to legal review. They found out about his possible breach of non-disclosure from our firm. That investigation is still pending. Phil's LinkedIn page went private the same day. Then his number stopped working.
Poof. Gone.
But that wasn't the end of it. A few weeks after things calmed down, I got a handwritten letter. No return address. Just my name. Inside was a note in messy handwriting. You win. I hope it was worth it. P. I laughed when I read it. Because he still didn't get it. I didn't win by tearing him down. I won by surviving what he tried to do. By proving who I was when it counted. By keeping receipts and staying patient when it would have been easy to scream. Now, I'm not just project director. Dana promoted me again. Senior strategy lead. I help guide the entire company's direction now. And I've got a real team. People who support each other. Who don't whisper insults in dark rooms or dump their failures on others. I leave on time most days. No more staying late to clean up someone else's mess. I still work hard.
That hasn't changed.
But I work smart now. And I don't let anyone mistake kindness for weakness. Phil thought I was a golden retriever, loyal, dumb, easy to control. But he forgot something important. Even the nicest dog bites when pushed hard enough. And I never needed to bark. I just waited for the right moment and let the whole house cave in.